Welcome everyone, it's Frank here. It's just a comment I'm going to make about what's happened to Anthony Morris. Obviously brother Anthony Morris, as they still call him. I talked a little bit about him, what I thought a few weeks ago, and I'm going to put a link here. But just today I saw online someone, I just can't think of the channel, but they had a discussion there about Anthony Morris being deleted. That is, his morning worship videos are deleted. Now, isn't that interesting? I mentioned in my video a couple of weeks ago, my thoughts were that such a guy you should really like having in leadership, because he's free speaking, he says what he thinks. It's not always in line with the organization's way of doing things, and so I can see, and I saw it back there, that the organization will be streamlining their videos, the presentation of the governing body, of branch members, of elders, anyone that has any spotlight within that organization. They would have to curtail their words. They would be watching everything they say, going over, editing, and even go to the point of removing their videos if they're not adequate. Now, why they took Anthony Morris's videos down, who knows? But you got to remember, Anthony Morris was a member, according to their doctrine, of the governing body chosen by Jesus. This is quite significant. You don't miss this point. Why is this significant? Because in effect, what they're saying by removing all his stuff is they weren't relevant. In other words, you as an audience may have heard those videos, morning worship, 12 of them, and may have made decisions in your life based on the wisdom coming from this person, because remember, he's part of the governing body chosen by Jesus. And yet these men decide that his words don't carry any weight anymore. Because why? He's no longer in this authoritative position. Remember, and I've been talking about in the last few videos, this top-down structure, how this has affected the body of Christ. But it affects all members within the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses. So there's a lot of things you can think about. Can you trust their words? As opposed to following what they say, why don't you guys, if you're one of Jehovah's Witnesses, because many ex-Jehovah's Witnesses understand, right? They're totally awake of what's going on. Follow the apostles' advice. What do the apostles say? In 1 John 4:1, test everything. Test all inspired expressions, including those from the governing body. I mean, think about it. Even those within that committees decide to remove this man's morning worship to 8 million people. 8 million people heard these, at least 12 of them. Now, I'm not saying they removed everything. I don't think so. But think about that for a moment, right? How important do you think it is? Isn't it worth your while following the advice of the apostles and the Apostle John, who says, test the inspired expression? I mean, they're not afraid to be tested. Why wouldn't you want to test those within your organization? I know, because you're now a member, you're obligated to obey. See, it's opposite, isn't it? They're opposite in the way they treat the members, as opposed to how the apostles and the New Testament writers talk to the believers. They encourage the believers to try them out, whereas the governing body doesn't want you to try them out. The Apostle Paul, in Acts 17:11, famous text there, it talks about the Bereans, the Jewish Bereans. They examined to see if everything what Paul was saying was correct. Think about it, right? So the New Testament writers are encouraging you to test them, but yet top-down, authoritative, corporate religion like Jehovah's Witnesses, you can try and say, no, they're not. They are. They are corporate religion. They don't want you testing the truthfulness of their words. They just want you to obey. Listen and obey. Because you're obligated now when you get baptized. I did this in my last video. So I thought this was interesting. The cancel culture is alive within the organization, and the higher you are, the obviously the fall is quite hard. I don't know why he's no longer a Jehovah's Witness. That is part of the governing body. There's only been a few that ever have stepped down or moved aside or been pushed. One of them was a member who was a member of the governing body, was in fact a man by the name of Hayden Covington back in the 40s. He was the vice president of the Organization of Jehovah's Witness. And what's interesting about Hayden Covington, before he was pushed, asked to move on, he wasn't an anointed person. Now, isn't that interesting? You know, Hayden Covington wasn't anointed. He was, as they call, part of the other sheep. Therefore, he wasn't a child of God, and yet he sat on the governing body at that time. He was vice president. He was actually groomed to be president by Judge Rutherford, who really liked him. Now, who picked Hayden Covington, the other sheep, not under a covenant, according to the Bible, according to their teaching? Was it Jesus or was it men? Who removed Hayden Covington? Was it Jesus or was it men? Is it Jesus or is it men? There's a lot going on with this organization, and unfortunately, when you're in it, you don't want to question anything. But you know, it really is up to you to follow the advice of the apostles and test everything, friends. If you're a witness and you're listening to this by any chance, there's something not quite right. It's not because they themselves are not part of Christianity. They are. They're very much in Christianity. They're part of the Christian system or Christendom. They have not been separated by the Lord to be a unique people on planet Earth. No, they're not. And the more you study the Bible, the more you understand the body of Christ and the new covenant, the more you see it. And when you see that they are structured like an organization with its corporate policies in place, which then filters into the Christian congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses, then you just see that you're just like everybody else. I hate to say it, but you've got your own brand. You know, you're blue and white. Okay, that's your colors, blue and white. Okay, just like my team is the South Sydney Rabbitohs, you know, my soccer team and whatever, right? That's my football team, but that's my team, man. Okay, your team is jw.org. That's your team, but you know what you're part of? One league, and that league is called Christendom, and you're part of that. You're not unique. You're just one team in many teams. The body of Christ is unique. That's a living organism that is not involved in this world at all. Its head is Jesus Christ, and that's something I encourage you as a JW to think about while you're attending this memorial season. Think of poor Anthony Morris. Why did they delete all his videos? Will he be partaking? I'm sure he will be. I mean, it'd be very difficult to think that he wouldn't. That'd be quite a story in itself, right? But a child of God is someone that is one who believes in Jesus. And if you're another sheep member and you believe in Jesus, my friend, you are a child of God. Have a look at John 1:12. You are not separated like a lot of these false teachings within is telling you that you are separated and you shouldn't partake. No, that's just their man-made teaching, just like the governing body have placed themselves in these high positions. There's a lot to think about, right? I mean, these men and their words. I mean, can you really accept what they say as being coming from Christ? I mean, if they're willing to just delete their videos, maybe they'll bring them back up. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe they're being recycled into something else. But you're going to see this organization become very corporate in its look, right? Very streamlined. Everyone's going to be under scrutiny. It's a warning to those members within. That's what that is to me. It's just letting them know, hey, pull your socks up, get your words right. Don't say what you want to say. Stick to the script. It's very simple. Do not deviate. And so if you're a member, can you imagine questioning the governing body in any way if they're willing to just scrap all their words out like it's nothing? I for my part, I wish you wasn't. I wish you was still sticking around. Because it's quite interesting to hear the truth as what they really think, right? But that's going to go. Anyway, I just thought it was interesting. I just saw it and I thought, wow, the plot thickens. That's what I think. There's so much going on there. I don't really care. It's not, it's not part of my life, but out of interest, I'm not trying to get clicks either. I don't really care. My channel's very small. I'm not into that. I'm into talking about God's grace, but this is sort of linked to my talks about institution religion and how that has crippled the body of Christ, because the body of Christ is scattered, and even within the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses there are members of the body of Christ in there. I'm not saying the ones that just partake. No, I'm sure they are, right? But even members of the other sheep crowd are part of the body of Christ and probably don't even realize it because of the faulty teaching. And a lot of the apostles responded in their letters to false teaching, and this is in some way responding to what's happened to this man, what they're doing, and what the future holds for them. Anyone in high position and where they're going. This is the thing that you need to look at. This is, if you're following that religion and analyzing it, they're the things you got to look at. Can you trust their words now? Are you someone that's going to put your faith in what they say? Do you recognize that they are just a corporate construct? Do you see that what you're following is just men and their ideas? And it's really dangerous to just follow men and their ideas. It can be wrong. Well, they're showing that he was wrong. Why, if he was right, why not just leave his words up? Yeah, it was part of the governing body. Who cares? Yeah, right. I mean, he must be of, if he was part of the governing body, he was chosen by Jesus, according to him. Or now, is he the evil slave? I think that's what I was talking about in the last video. You see, there's so much you can talk about here. But try and go under that and see, where are these guys going? What's going on behind the scenes? It would be interesting to be in that room, in these rooms, in these meetings, and hearing their discussion as to why did they do this? What was the decision behind that? Taking down his videos. But have a look at Hayden Covington. He's an interesting guy, right? Other sheep member, was part of the governing body. Now, explain that away. Anyway, just food for thought, guys. Have a great day, and if you're partaking today, if you're joining Jehovah's Witnesses, and you feel too embarrassed, you want to partake, and you don't have to do it there. Do it at home. You don't have to make a big show, because it's a big deal within that organization, right? If you're a child of God, you know it, but you might be classified as another sheep member just to partake. But don't be afraid to partake, though. You can do it at home, friends. So just think about that as you go to your meeting tonight. All right. Have a great day. See you later.